My family didn't give up on me all at once. It happened quietly, in pieces, through lowered expectations, unfinished sentences, and the way conversations slowly stopped including me. By the time I noticed, the decision had already been made. My name is Lily. I was 19 when I realized my place in the family wasn't permanent, it was conditional. We were sitting in the living room, the television on but no one really watching. My father flipped through paperwork on his lap. My mother scrolled on her phone. My older sister sat across from me, relaxed, confident, already settled into the role everyone assumed she would grow into. I was explaining my plan. Not a dream. Not a fantasy. A plan. I wanted to move out of state for school. I had researched programs, tuition, part-time work options. I wasn't asking for money. I wasn't asking for permission. I was asking for acknowledgement. My father didn't look up when I finished. "That's not realistic," he said. My mother sighed. "You're always reaching." My sister smiled slightly, the way someone does when they already know how the story ends. Some people just aren't built for that kind of pressure. The room went quiet. I waited for someone to soften it, to rephrase, to say we're worried or let's talk it through. No one did. That was the moment I understood something fundamental. They weren't afraid I'd fail. They were convinced I already had. From then on, everything changed. But not in ways that were easy to point to. I stopped being asked about my plans. My opinions were dismissed before they finished forming. Any success was labeled luck. Any struggle was labeled proof. When I did well, it was quiet. When I stumbled, it was confirmation. I learned quickly that defending myself only made it worse. So I stopped. I finished school locally. Took whatever work I could find. Kept my head down. I lived at home longer than I wanted to, absorbing the unspoken message that I was temporary, even in my own family. When I finally moved out, no one protested. My mother hugged me politely. My father said, "Do what you need to do." My sister said, "Good luck." Luck. That word again. The first year on my own was hard in ways I hadn't prepared for. Not dramatic hardship, quiet ones. Uncertainty. Loneliness. The kind of exhaustion that comes from having no safety net. I worked 2 jobs. Learned to budget precisely. Learned how to fail privately. I didn't ask my family for help. Not because I was proud. Because I already knew the answer. The second year was steadier. I found work that fit my skills. Not glamorous. Not impressive. But honest. I learned fast, stayed late, fixed problems that weren't technically mine. People noticed. Not loudly. Not immediately. But they noticed. By the 3rd year, I wasn't struggling anymore. I wasn't thriving either. But I was building something solid. I still didn't tell my family much. Every time I considered it, I remembered the looks. The sighs. The certainty with which they'd decided who I was. So I let them keep that version. Years passed like that. I came home for holidays sometimes. Brief visits. Careful conversations. I smiled when appropriate. Deflected questions when they got too close. My sister advanced quickly. New job. New apartment. New life milestones that were celebrated loudly. Mine happened quietly. Promotions. Savings. Stability. No applause. No validation. Just progress. Then came the moment when everything shifted. It wasn't dramatic. There was no argument. No confrontation. It was a phone call. My mother called one evening, her voice cautious. "We heard you're doing okay." "Okay." "Yes," I said. "I am." She paused. "Your sister mentioned you might be able to help with something." There it was. Help. Not pride. Not curiosity. Help. They hadn't given up on needing me. They'd given up on believing in me, until it was convenient not to. I listened as she explained. Logistics. A situation. A problem that needed someone dependable. Someone capable. Someone they hadn't seen me as until now. "I can't," I said calmly. She was surprised. "Why not?" "Because I already knew how the story went." "I'm not available," I replied. Silence. Not anger. Confusion. That was new. We ended the call politely. Afterward, I sat alone in my apartment, thinking not about revenge or justice or proving anyone wrong, but about choice. For the first time, I understood something clearly. They had given up on me long before I ever stopped trying, and I didn't owe them a return. After that call, something subtle shifted, not just between me and my family, but inside me. For years, I'd carried an unspoken assumption that if I just stayed steady long enough, if I kept improving quietly, the story they'd told themselves about me would eventually crack. That one day they'd look up and see me clearly. When my mother asked for help, I realized something uncomfortable. They had looked up, not because they believed in me, because they needed something. The days that followed were strangely peaceful. No anxious checking of my phone. No rehearsing conversations in my head. I went to work, came home, cooked dinner, slept well. Then my father called. He didn't waste time. "Your mother said you refused to help," he said. "Yes," I replied. "Why?" The question wasn't angry. It was puzzled, as if he were trying to understand a broken rule. "I'm not the right person," I said. "That's not true," he said quickly. "You're responsible. You always have been." I almost laughed. "That wasn't true when I needed support," I said calmly. "But it's true now?" He sighed. "You're being unfair." "No," I said. "I'm being consistent." There was a pause. Then, softer, "Your sister is under a lot of pressure." I waited. "She thought you might understand." That landed harder than he intended. "Understanding isn't the same as stepping in," I said. He didn't argue. He just sounded tired. "We didn't realize you felt so strongly," he said. I closed my eyes. "I didn't realize you didn't know." After that, the messages started arriving from different directions. An aunt asking how I'd been. A cousin casually checking in. A family friend mentioning how proud everyone was of me now. The praise felt misplaced, like applause after the curtain had already closed. My sister called a week later. Her voice was careful, stripped of its usual confidence. "I heard you said no," she said. "Yes." "Why?" she asked again, like my parents had. "You know I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important." "That's exactly why I said no," I replied. She scoffed lightly. "You're acting like we abandoned you." "You did," I said. Silence. "You left on your own," she said finally. "No," I replied. "I left after you all decided I didn't matter." "That's not what happened." "It's how it felt," I said. "For a long time." She exhaled sharply. "So what, you're punishing us?" I thought about that. "I'm not punishing anyone," I said. "I'm choosing myself." She laughed once, bitter. "You always do that." "That's new," I replied. "I didn't used to." She didn't respond. Over the next few months, I watched from a distance as the dynamic I'd quietly managed for years began to strain. My sister struggled without someone smoothing things over. My parents disagreed more openly. Small decisions turned into long conversations because there was no one willing to absorb the tension. I wasn't there to translate moods. I wasn't there to soften disappointment. I wasn't there to say it's okay when it wasn't. And without that buffer, the family had to face itself. My mother called one evening, her voice unsteady. "We miss you," she said. "I know," I replied. "You've changed," she added. "Yes," I said. "I had to." She hesitated. "We didn't think you'd step away like this." "I didn't think I'd have to," I replied gently. She cried then, not loudly, but honestly. "I don't know how to fix this," she said. I believed her. "I'm not asking you to fix it," I said. "I'm asking you to see it." There was a long pause. "We see you now," she whispered. I didn't answer. Because seeing someone only matters if it changes how you treat them next. A few weeks later, my father invited me to dinner. Just the three of us. No sister. No audience. I went. The conversation was awkward at first. Polite. Careful. Then my father said something he'd never said before. "We underestimated you." I looked at him. "We thought we were protecting you by lowering expectations," he continued. "We didn't realize we were shrinking you." My mother nodded, eyes wet. "We didn't know how much you carried." I let the words sit. "I don't want an apology," I said finally. "I want honesty going forward." They agreed. But agreement is easy in the moment. Change takes time. When I left that night, I didn't feel relieved or triumphant. I felt resolved, because the truth had finally surfaced. Not through confrontation, but through absence. They had given up on me early, quietly, without ever saying the words out loud. And when they needed me back, they discovered something unexpected. I didn't ask to return. The change didn't arrive with an apology tour or a dramatic reunion. It arrived in moments where my absence was no longer theoretical. My sister missed a deadline and had no one to quietly fix it. My parents disagreed on a decision and realized they'd relied on me for years to keep conversations from turning sharp. Family gatherings felt longer, heavier, because no one stepped in to smooth the edges anymore. For the first time, the silence did what my words never had. It showed them what I'd been carrying. Months passed. I stayed consistent, present when I chose to be, unavailable when I didn't. I didn't explain myself anymore. I didn't defend boundaries I'd already set. That was when my father asked to meet again. Not at a cafe. Not over dinner. At his office. I almost declined. Then I realized something important. I wasn't afraid of this meeting. I wasn't bracing myself. I was simply deciding whether it was worth my time. I went. He looked older than I remembered. Not fragile, just humbled. "We've been doing a lot of thinking," he said. "Your mother and I." I waited. "We didn't give up on you because we didn't care," he continued. "We gave up because we were wrong, and it was easier to believe you wouldn't succeed than to admit we didn't know how to support you." That was the closest he'd ever come to accountability. "I don't need you to fix that," I said. "I already did." He nodded. "I know." There was a pause. Then, "Your sister's struggling." I met his eyes. "That's her work to do." "I agree," he said. "I just wanted you to know we're not asking you to step in." That mattered more than he realized. Later that week, my sister reached out again. Not with tension. Not with accusation. With honesty. "I didn't think you'd actually leave us behind," she said. "I thought you'd wait until we noticed." "I waited for years," I replied. "You just didn't look." She was quiet for a long time. "I don't know how to be close without competing," she admitted. "That's something you'll have to learn," I said. "I can't teach it by shrinking." She didn't argue. At the next family gathering, the dynamic was different. Not perfect, but different. My parents listened more than they spoke. My sister caught herself mid-comment more than once. When she slipped, my mother redirected gently instead of laughing it off. No one looked to me to fix anything. That was the biggest change of all. As the evening wound down, my mother walked me to the door. "I'm proud of you," she said. I believed her, but more importantly, I didn't need her to say it anymore. Driving home, I thought about the version of myself they'd written off, the one they'd decided was too soft, too uncertain, too unrealistic. She had survived anyway. Not because she proved them wrong, but because she stopped asking them to be right. My family gave up on me early. They closed doors quietly, without ceremony, without warning. And when I finally walked away from the role they'd assigned me, they expected me to circle back, to ask, to negotiate, to return. I didn't. Because sometimes the most powerful choice isn't coming back stronger. It's choosing not to come back at all.